First of all, you have some thoughts to share with us to get things rolling.
Yeah, and as usual, they're about Freddie Kitchens. So, you know, one thing Freddie Kitchens made clear when he was hired was that he didn't care who got the credit in Berea. Forget for a minute that there isn't much credit to go around these days after a 2-6 start. For some reason, Kitchens has been adamant that he won't turn over play calling to offensive coordinator Todd Monken. I've said before, I think play calling is Kitchens' wheelhouse. But it's getting harder and harder to defend some of his game day decisions and his mismanagement of game day situations. Time is running out on the Browns making a realistic run at the playoffs. I'd say Kitchens has 2 games to showcase his offense at this point. Buffalo and then a Thursday night home game with the Steelers. After that comes another break, 10 days I think. If nothing changes by then, I believe Kitchens will be well on his way to losing more than the play calling.
Yeah, it's tough to argue with that. The other thing is if you're going to share the responsibility, you're going to share the blame, I think is what he's saying.
Yeah, probably a little bit of that. But he's been very adamant that, like, instead of saying, well, listen, I respect Todd Monken. He did it in Tampa Bay last year, although I believe he had play calling taken away from him in Tampa last year, too. I'm not sure.
That offense was
the offense
best.
is a very good passing offense. It didn't get a lot of things done running-wise, but he hasn't seemed to, like, even throw out that kind of olive branch that, yeah, I know Todd could do this, but I really feel like this is where our focus should be. And it's going to be, you know, I just look at the things he does during games, Dave, whether it's challenging a spot or, you know, or not having Chubb on the field in 3rd and short and 4th and short. And I think if he didn't have play calling, would he be able to manage those situations a little bit better? I don't know for a fact that Monken's play calling is suddenly going to be the thing that turns this team around. But right now, they don't seem prepared for situations that arise in games.
No, they appear to be scattered. It's almost, when I say focused, they appear to be almost scatterbrained with some of the things.
Yeah, and I know early on, after, say, like the Rams game, I know there were people saying that during that game, Mayfield was looking over to the sideline 3 or 4 times like, what are we calling? Like, get me the play. I don't know for a fact that that's still happening, but it is, to me, another indicator that you can talk yourself into a job and say you're going to be well prepared, you're going to be, you know, creative on offense. And we always talk about how these guys come in and they win the press conference. But until you get out there on the field and things are happening quickly and suddenly you have to be in control of which personnel groups are out there for what you want to do, head coaching in this league is not an easy job.
Well, the thing that's extremely troubling is their play calling inside the 20-yard, in the red zone, if you will. I mean, and people are piling on about Chubb not being in the backfield, and they've got a point. That's a valid point. But the concern is, it seems like they throw into the middle of the defense or run into the middle of the defense. Even when they spread it out, it's always going where there are multiple defenders.
Yeah.
You just don't see that with good offenses.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not schooled enough in X's and O's to tell you what their percentage of success is with empty backfields inside the 20, all of that. There are websites out there that can tell you exactly that. But one of the things that jumped out at me this week, and I believe it was, I'd like to credit like Jake Trotter, I think, from ESPN Cleveland, who got the numbers together for targets in the red zone.
Yep.
And right now, Odell-Beckham-Jr. is ranked 126th in the NFL in being targeted inside the red zone.
I think it's out of like 132, too.
Well, I didn't even know that.
He has like 3. I think he has 3 targets.
Yeah, he has 3 targets in the red zone. And listen, I saw him make a couple of plays in that last game that I wasn't sure how he made those catches or how he kept the ball from hitting the ground. But those are the kinds of things that you don't throw into triple coverage. I'm not suggesting that you do that just to try to get him the ball, but Rich Gannon said it late in that telecast. You know, when you're down inside the 20, it's more about players than it is about plays. And this offense seems to think it's still about plays. And if it's a scarcely used tight end who flashes open in the back of the end zone, that's where the ball's going instead of going to guys that have scored touchdowns before.
And even when they do try to target somebody like Beckham, it seems to be like it's going into defenders.
Yeah.
As opposed, put him in the back corner of the end zone and make one or two guys defend him that aren't linebackers waiting to take his head off.
Yeah, and that fourth down play was an indicator or an example of that. When Beckham beats, I think it was Chris Harris off the line and has a step and a half on him in single coverage, Baker throws it into the middle of the field for Landry, who did flash open, but there's also three guys there by the time the ball comes to him. So it's not as simple as saying that Freddie Kitchens is the sole reason why this team is losing, but certainly he's going to bear a lot of the responsibility just because of how ill prepared they've been in certain situations. Not to mention starting the season with all of training camp to prepare for Tennessee, coming out of the bye and doing what they did on 3 consecutive snaps against the New England Patriots. I mean that's a head coach looking to get fired when those things happen.
The thing that, let's go the 4th and 1 call where you have a quarterback, sneak. I get it. That's not a bad call. But your quarterback isn't 6'2", 220 pounds. Yeah. So if you want him to have the ball, roll him out. His legs can be a weapon.
Yeah.
You see none of that in the red zone.
No, you don't. And when he has occasionally taken the ball and tucked it and run, it's been successful, and it hasn't always gone for. It's not Lamar Jackson.
No.
I'm not pretending it is, but
you don't want him to make a living doing it because he's going to take a beating.
But it's certainly enough to make the defense say, "Oh,
yeah,
okay."
Or here's another one.
When he does scramble, we know he's just not running right and throwing the ball. We know he might try to gain some yards.
Here's another one. So you fake the handoff to Chubb, and you bootleg out the opposite way because the way Chubb's running the ball, you're going to get the defense going that way.
Yeah, and
you see none of that.
And one of the things I think we're all going to be watching I'm going to be watching it more with interest than I am anticipation, is Kareem Hunt coming into this offense. I don't think he's suddenly going to save the season because I'm not sure Freddie knows how to use him. I mean, I haven't seen it's one thing to say, well, instead of Dontrell Hilliard, now you're going to have Kareem Hunt, and that's an upgrade. Are you going to be taking carries away from
nick-chubb?
From Chubb again, or like we saw happen last year more than this year, And I think anytime you're taking the ball out of Nick Chubb's hands right now, it's not great.